Hello, and welcome back to Sanative. I'm grateful you chose to spend a little time with me today. Thank you for being here. In the last episode, we spoke about presence, about learning to pause, listen to the body, and notice what is happening within us before we react. That pause creates space, and inside that space, we begin to notice our thoughts. Not only the thoughts we choose, but the thoughts that repeat. The thoughts that appear automatically. The thoughts that tell us what something means before we have taken time to understand what is actually happening. And for much of my life, I did not realize that a thought could simply be a thought. If I believed something terrible was going to happen, my body responded as though it was already happening. If I believed someone was judging me, I became defensive before I knew whether judgment was truly present. And if I believed I had failed, shame followed. The thought came first, then the emotion, and then the reaction. One of the most important things I began to understand was this: a thought is not always fact. The mind is constantly interpreting life through memories, fears, expectations, and past experiences. Sometimes this helps us, but sometimes the mind places an old experience over a new moment. Someone becomes quiet and the mind might say, they are angry with me. A message goes unanswered and the mind might say, I must have done something wrong. A plan changes and the mind says, everything is falling apart. We make a mistake and the mind says, I always ruin things. These thoughts can feel true because they are familiar, but familiar does not always mean accurate. A thought repeated often enough can become an inner rule. I should be stronger. I should be handling this better. I cannot disappoint anyone. I have to do everything myself. And over time, these thoughts begin shaping how we see ourselves and how we move through life. But a belief formed through pain is not always the truth of who we are. The mind often creates these beliefs as protection. A mind that has known rejection may search for rejection. A mind that has known criticism may criticize itself first. And a mind that lived through uncertainty may try to control every outcome. These patterns do not mean something is wrong with us. They may simply mean that some part of us learned to survive by staying alert. The goal is not to fight the mind. The goal is to notice what it is doing, and decide whether the thought belongs to the present moment. A simple way to practice this change is to change the language. Instead of saying I am failure, say I am having the thought that I failed. Instead of saying no one cares about me, say I am noticing a fear that I do not matter. Instead of saying everything is going to fall apart, say my mind is imagining the worst because I feel uncertain. And that small shift creates space between you and the thought. It reminds you that the thought is present, but it is not the whole of who you are. You can practice this throughout the day. When you feel anxious, when you feel defensive, ashamed, or overwhelmed, pause and ask yourself, what thought am I believing right now? Name it clearly, then ask yourself, what do I actually know? And what am I assuming? Fear often fills in missing information. What I know is that they have not responded. What I am assuming is that they are angry. What I know is that the plan changed. What I am assuming is that everything will fail. What I know is that I made a mistake. What I am assuming is that mistake defines me. This practice helps us separate reality from fear. It gives us time to gather more information before we react. Thoughts also affect the body. A fearful thought may tighten the chest, lift the shoulders, shorten the breath, or turn the stomach. When that happens, place your feet on the floor, relax your hands, lower your shoulders, take a gentle breath in, and let the exhale be slightly slower. Then quietly say, I am here, I am breathing, this is the moment I am in. The purpose is not to force the fear away. It is to remind the body that the imagined outcome is not necessarily happening now. The mind also asks questions that create more fear. What if everything goes wrong? What if I fail? What if I cannot handle this? Try replacing those questions with grounded ones. What do I need to know before I decide? What is within my control today? Is there another possible explanation? What support would help me? What is one small step I can take? A better question does not force a positive answer. It simply moves us toward clarity. Worry can feel like action, but real preparation usually leads to something practical. A conversation, a request for help, a boundary, a pause before responding, one manageable step. When your mind begins circling, ask, is there something I can do right now? If the answer is yes, take one grounded step. If the answer is no, remind yourself, I do not have enough information yet. I do not need to solve this tonight. I can return to it when I know more. Rest is not carelessness. Pausing is not avoidance. And uncertainty is not always danger. You can also take a few minutes at the end of the day and reflect on one repeating thought. Ask yourself, what emotion came with it? Where did I feel it in my body? What did I know for certain? What was I assuming? What would be a kinder and more truthful response? For example, the thought was, I am falling behind. The feeling was anxiety. The body response was tightness in the chest. What I knew was that I did not finish everything. What I assumed was I was failing. A more grounded response might be, I did not finish everything today, but I completed what I could. I can choose one priority tomorrow. The goal is not to stop having difficult thoughts. The goal is to stop allowing every thought to become a command. Some thoughts need attention, some need questioning, some need compassion, and some can be allowed to pass. When you feel caught in a thought spiral, remember, pause, name the thought, notice the body, separate facts from assumptions, and choose one grounded response. You are not every thought that moves through your mind. You are the awareness that can witness it, the presence that can meet it, and one who can choose what happens next. Thank you for joining me today, and as you move through the days ahead, notice the thoughts that visit you most often. You don't have to fight them, just simply see them. Question what needs to be questioned, return to the body, and choose your response with care. And until next time, be gentle with yourself. Give your mind permission to rest, and remember, a thought can feel powerful without being true. This is the path of wholeness.